We have some rare good news if you want to reform California schools. It comes in the form of a ballot measure that might appear on the November 2024 ballot. Coming up, we'll tell you all about it and how Reform California is joining the fight to pass this initiative. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and we actually have some rare good news in the fight to reform California schools to make them better for our students, better for our kids. California's left-wing politicians at both the state and local levels, the school board levels, are all fixated on everything but academic achievement. They are focused on personal pronouns. They're focused on social agendas and political agendas and bizarre and very distasteful curriculum. They're focused on pushing parents out of the way. They're focused on giving salary hikes and pension spikes to government unions. What they're not focused on is whether our children are ready to succeed in a 21st century economy. They're not focused on the academic scores, the test scores that are showing that 2/3 of California students fail math proficiencies, and a majority of students are failing reading and writing. And when you look at African American and Latino kids, the numbers are even worse. Well, now comes a citizens' revolt that I am so excited about. It would add a requirement for curriculum in the state of California. Now, you might say, Carl, why don't we let the curriculum be decided by local school boards? I agree that local school boards should decide about the type of curriculum, but I am not opposed to curriculum mandates from the state level when it's sensible. For example, a mandate that, we teach the Constitution. I think that would be a pretty good idea. Or this next one, and this is the subject of the ballot measure, a mandate to teach about personal finance. So here is the legislation that is likely going to be on the California November general election ballot. Here is the title and summary request that was submitted back in September of this last year for the California Personal Finance Education Act. That's what this proposal is called. And in order for this to be put on the ballot, proponents had to get signatures. And the signatures would have to be nearly 1 million signatures from registered voters. Well, guess what? This week, proponents announced that they have indeed received enough signatures to put this on the ballot. So assuming that they have valid signatures, and I have no reason to believe that they don't have valid signatures. I think this is a very well-run professional operation. I think that this will be on the ballot in November. So let me go through the requirements. And let me just tell you that when you read the legislation, here is the actual proposed law. Here it is. Proposed law, name the California Personal Finance Education Act, findings and declarations. That's the whereas. And then we get into the actual education code that will be amended by this citizens initiative. If you read this, notice all of this text here is relating to English classes, civics classes, math classes, science classes, physical education. Here's this one on physical education. Unfortunately, they also even say ethnic studies. But this is not the initiative. This is not part of the initiative. And I'm raising this because I saw on social media some comment that this initiative requires ethnic studies. It does not require ethnic studies. What you're looking at right here in the draft proposal that was submitted is existing education code. This is already in California education code. What this initiative does is add in the amendment language, and that's found right here on page 8 of the submission. This is going to add a section H to the ed code. So all that other stuff is all existing requirements. This is what would actually be put into the education code if this initiative passes. So commencing with 2029-2030 school year, including for charter schools, there shall be 1 semester course in personal finance. And of course, what does that refer to? Graduation requirements. So this is section H of what is required in order for someone to graduate from high school in California. So they would have to have a 1-semester course in personal finance. A local education agency, including a charter school, may require a full year course in personal finance at its discretion. So you can do 1 semester or a full year. And the offering of these courses shall begin at least by 2026. So schools would have to offer it by 2026, gives them time to get the curriculum materials ready, the instructional materials ready. And then by 2029, 2030, that's when it would be a graduation requirement. Okay, so that's what's being proposed here is a personal finance semester class. What will it consist of? Well, Section 3 of Section H has what would be the curriculum, basically. We would teach kids budgeting skills for independent living, understanding the tax system, including its impact on personal income, the process to file taxes, how to read tax forms and pay stubs, understanding retirement accounts and investment alternatives to build financial security, including 401k, stock, bonds, mutual funds, and index funds, evaluating types of credit and their features, highlighting dangers of predatory lending practices, understanding the importance of maintaining good credit, how to establish your credit, the role of credit scores in the credit reports, enhancing consumer protection skills by raising awareness of frauds and scams and identity theft. Boy, the politicians are going to be worried about that one, right? Identifying means to finance college or workforce education, including scholarships, merit aid, student loans, and learning about the features of bank accounts, including how to manage online account and minimize fees. In other words, the basics of governing your personal finance. Pretty simple, pretty important. And you know what? What I love about this proposal, I'm a common sense, bare bones, meat and potatoes guy. I think that kids should learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're not learning that right now in school. They're learning personal pronouns and gender bending ideology and all this crap, absolute crap, political agendas. I want them to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. And if we're going to add in another course besides Constitution or U.S. history, this would be at the top of my list. It's appalling that we don't automatically already require this, because what we're doing when we don't teach kids about personal finance is we're setting up people who will likely make bad decisions and become dependent on the government. And maybe that's what the liberal politicians want. They don't want you to know about personal finance. They don't want you to be independent. They don't want you to know about how taxes can impact the economy or your personal finance. They don't want you to know about investing because they want you to be dependent. All of these things are wonderful things for kids to learn, and it wouldn't be difficult to teach them. They would at least have some conversation about how the world works financially. They say in personal investing, it's not how much you invest, it's how long you invest. I don't know if you've ever seen some of those comparisons where they'd say, Joan is 40 years old and she's putting away $1,000 a month for X amount of time. But John is 25 years old and he starts putting away $100 a month for X amount of time. Who has more money by retirement? Those are always fascinating because people think, oh, it must be the one putting away a bunch of money towards the end. No, it's usually someone who starts in socking away just a little bit of money starting early over the course of time will be financially secure. And when people do have a rainy day fund, savings account, when they have a retirement account, when they have a personal portfolio, they may then start reconsidering some of these bad economic policies that left-wing politicians are always trying to shop. Always trying to peddle to voters every election. This could be one of the most important education reforms we've seen in a long time in California. Now, do I wish we could strip out some of the other nonsense? Yes. And we do need to do that eventually in California. And that's why at Reform California, we are supporting new legislators at the state level who are going to respect school district authority and get the social agendas out of the classroom and stop imposing these radical, curriculum mandates, as well as recruiting, training, supporting, endorsing, and electing good school board members across the state who will listen to parents, who will treat parents with respect, and will hold the education bureaucracy accountable for the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic. We're going to endorse this measure, again, assuming it qualifies for the ballot. And I do think, given the people behind it, I think that we'll see this on the ballot in November. And so at Reform California, it will be on our voter guide come November, and we're going to try to get as many people involved as possible. If you want to help us out with our lead up to the November election, we're already starting. We are not taking any time off from the primary. We know that there's going to be a lot of statewide ballot measures, including our taxpayer protection initiative that we want to pass. There's a reform to frivolous lawsuits that we want to pass. And of course, we think that this measure will be on the ballot. We also are pretty hopeful that the Make Crime Illegal Again in California initiative, the repeal of Prop 47, will also be on the ballot. So this election might have 4 or 5 really good statewide ballot measures that we can get behind and say yes on. There's also bad ballot measures on the statewide ballot, including 2 measures designed to gut Prop 13 and make it easier to raise taxes. So these ballot measures, we absolutely have to go all in on. It's good to know that we have a good measure that does education reform because it allows us to engage voters on a wide range of issues and get them on board our overall reform agenda. So please be part of our efforts to organize this state campaign to support this Financial Education Act, this Personal Financial Literacy Act, as well as saving Prop 13. Help us by contributing online at reformcalifornia.org. Reformcalifornia.org. Sign up as a volunteer so that when we do publish our voter guide, we can get it to you. You can share it with your friends electronically, as well as go door to door with our door hangers. We have a big battle in November, and we have some good things that we can fight for. Until next time, it's Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.